What's up, guys? This is Wenzes. Welcome back to my channel where we talk about creating an epic life on your terms. And today we're talking about a topic that's a little bit more difficult, but I see how many people struggle from this. And this is the feeling of loneliness. It really is an epidemic. And I always find it very hard for people to talk about it who've never been there, who've never experienced this feeling of being completely alone in the world. But I have been there. I know how it feels. I know how hard it can be. And for me, it really had to get even worse before it could get better. But I'm here to tell you, it's not something that you have to feel for the rest of your life. You can absolutely change the way you approach life, the way you approach people. And it's not that you have to be friends with the people around you if right now you cannot make a connection with them. It really takes something else. Before we get started, I want to remind you, if you want to know more about the concept of creating an epic life on your terms, then check out the Epic Life Masterclass. You can also watch the free webinar on it or download the poster with the 5 pillars to an epic life. And if you want to work with me privately, then also check out all the information on one-on-one coaching. You find the links below. So first off, I want to tell you a little bit about my experience with loneliness. The worst part, I think, was when I was 25. I really got into a point where everything looked great on paper, everything looked great on the outside, but I personally felt really, really alone. And sometimes it seems like this is even a different path than most people, because most of the time you have something you can make responsible for this. Oh, I'm not with the cool clique, or I'm just not in this kind of environment, I'm not cool, or I'm not like that interesting to other people. Whatever it is that it might seem like an excuse why we're disconnected. But there I was thinking I was just presenting the best I could be. I was so good at being a chameleon and giving the people everything that they wanted. So I thought, at least. Not understanding that what I was doing is neglecting who I really was. None of the connections I was making through my authentic self. And every time somebody came into my life that I felt like, oh, now I can bypass all those rules I have set for myself because that person really needs me. So I already was some kind of codependent relationship. Every time I got in situations and relationships like this, I felt now I can show my authentic self because this person is really gonna need me. Because who else is gonna give them exactly what they want? Who else is gonna understand them as much as I can? And because I felt that there's this dependency, I dared to open up. But this, of course, was out of scarcity. I didn't open up because I felt abundant and full of love and just wanted to give. I did that because I always wanted something back from the other person. That's a typical codependent relationship. And I was willing to sacrifice so much to keep that because this was my only way out. And most of the time, we're willing to do whatever it takes just to keep that person in our life, just to keep that connection alive, although it might cost us our sanity, our financial well-being, whatever it is. But how do you get out of it? How did I get out of it? Well, for me, it really was that I sacrificed absolutely everything. I really got to a point where I couldn't even speak up. It really felt like me speaking up, that's already bothering the other person. And this is an extreme case of everything we go through when we feel lonely. We feel lonely because we neglect who we are. We only connect through what the other person wants to see in us. And we don't matter. And the worst part about it is, it's not that we don't matter to the other person. It's that we don't matter to ourselves. It really had to kick me to the curb. I really had to lay flat on my face, metaphorically speaking, before I knew I had to change something. And then I understood I did that because I didn't feel like I was enough. Marissa Peer always says we all have the problem of not feeling enough. And I believe that's one of the main reasons why we're so disconnected. It does not matter if you're like having connections through the internet or if you're having relationships in real life. People so often say, oh, the internet is just causing us to disconnect. It's all superficial. But that's not the case. The internet just amplifies our own tendencies. It amplifies our dynamics in our life. And if you want to feel connected, if you don't want to feel lonely, it's really about understanding that you don't have to change in order to be friends with or have connections with the closest people in your life right now. If this is the closest relationship you can actually get right now, then you're not going to get better relationships that way. It's not that you're going to change something about yourself and then all the relationships in your life that you already have will just improve. It's different than that. You will actually show up completely new in a way where you will make new connections with new people, people that you haven't had in your life so far. And that doesn't mean that you won't improve the relationships you currently have in your life, but some of them will completely diminish, and some of them will get really great, but they will all be completely new relationships. Even relationships you've had with your parents, with your siblings, with your best friends, it will seem like you have a relationship with a completely different person because you're gonna show up as a different person. See, the goal in all of this is to be one person all the time. Yes, there are relationships where we bring out certain aspects of ourselves out more than others, but there's still this core that most of the time we don't live out. We don't show it, we hide it. And we hide it because we feel it's unlovable. We have been taught from no matter what kind of circumstance we've been in our life. It could be really close people in our life, but it could also be just situations we witnessed. We take certain things on that tell us that we are not enough, that there's something wrong with us. For me, it always felt like me standing up and fighting for myself, me being the center of my life, the VIP or the leading character of my movie, me doing this will cause for everybody to abandon me. And I was definitely convinced of that. This was so deeply ingrained in me that I didn't understand that this was even a possibility. I didn't know that this is a way you could go through life. I saw that other people were doing it, but for me, it seemed like the most unnatural thing I could imagine. But I knew if I would do that, then people around me would see my real strength. They would see my gift. They would see everything that I am. But for me, that strength and that gift didn't seem like something I would want. It seemed like a burden. It seemed like something people will abandon me for. And, that's exactly what happened. It's not like you're gonna stand up one day and you're gonna be your complete self and everything's gonna be perfect and the people around you will just see you for who you are and then everything is great. No, as I said, it probably has to get a little worse before it gets better. Because the thing is this, you have this image of yourself, of what you could be, and you need to choose that image. This has to be yours. This has to be the thing that you like most about life. If you don't put yourself first, if you don't see yourself as a gift to the world, you'll always have a problem of showing up and connecting with people on an authentic level. You have to be okay with not being perfect. You have to be okay with not being the ideal image that you would want yourself to be. Because no matter what, when you first start living that out, like your inner truth, you're not gonna be the ideal image that you thought about. There's no way how. You're just starting to create a new, real persona for yourself that mirrors back what your soul really craves for. And building that up will take time. It will take time until it is refined. It will take time until it is something that you're not embarrassed about on some kind of level. See, for me, when I was really pushed to the corner and I knew no matter what I'm going to do, that person will never ever respect me. That person will never ever tolerate me, because back then, this is what I wanted. And most people who feel alone, they just want people to tolerate them. They feel okay with just wanting that. I know I'm not perfect. I know I'm a bad person, but please, just tolerate me. I'm trying to do everything to make it easy for you. And that's the exactly wrong way. Because what you do in this moment is you attract people who are so judgmental towards themselves that they're also going to be that judgmental towards you because you don't accept yourself. If you felt it's completely okay for you to bring out that part of you, you would never feel like it could be a possibility of you to hide that part. But we do that because we're so scared of that, because we're so embarrassed about it. What are people gonna think about that part of me? What are people gonna say? It's not refined, it's not perfect, it makes mistakes. Yes, it definitely does. And so I remember when I really got to that point and I knew I cannot get out of it any other way. I have to show up and start fighting for myself, because otherwise I don't know what's gonna happen. Like, I was really close to a reality break. I think I even had one, but I couldn't do it anymore. And what I did was I showed up as that part of me. And from one day to the other, I was not cool anymore. From one day to the other, I was not refined. I was doing so many mistakes. I was showing up and being imperfect way more than I felt I had ever done or shown up as, because for the first time, I'm showing that authentic part of me, and there's no way it can be perfect. Before that, I could just hide it. And when you hide something and you're just an observer, it's really easy to feel like you're not gonna get judged. Because how could you? You're not showing anything that people could dislike. You're making it as easy as possible for other people to like you. But even then you're not gonna be able to stop people from disliking you, from people to getting mad at you just for you being yourself, even if it was just for a moment. Because most of the time, this is what happens. You meet somebody and you try to accommodate them, and then one time you bring out this essence of yours and the other one gets really mad. They don't like it. They start judging you. They start bullying you. And what do most of us do? We go back into our shell. We go back into our shell because we feel this is the safest place for us. And probably it was for a long time. See, when we're children, we don't know how to act differently. Back then, it probably was the best thing for us to go back into our shell. This was probably the safest place for us to be. But now, as adults, we keep replaying that program over and over again, wondering why we feel so disconnected, why we feel we're the only person in the world, why there's nobody who understands us, when in the end, nobody can understand you because you're not showing up as your authentic self. And it's not gonna be, as I said, that you wake up one day and then you're like completely your authentic self from one day to the other. You can lean into it. I'm leaning into it. I don't feel like there's ever going to be a moment where I'm completely always authentically me. There's no limiting belief holding me back. There's not something I do for recognition or some kind of ego thing. I don't think that that's possible. But I see how I get more and more authentic with myself. I see how I let go of my ego more and more. And I'm willing to make mistakes in the progress. I'm willing to show up and maybe hurt somebody on accident and forgive myself. But you have to do the same thing. And as I said, once you start doing this, once you say the things you're afraid to say because people are gonna think you're weird, they're gonna think you're crazy, they ask you, who do you think you are? Whatever your fears are, once you show up like this, you will see how all the dynamics in your world will change. Because that moment is the moment you say, everybody that I'll meet from now on, or everybody that I get to know again, somebody who used to be in my life or has been in my life, they have to accept me with that part of me, with that part that I'm hiding. It's not that we have to connect through that part, that part has to be the most important thing in our relationship, but they have to know that I exist only with that part. And that is the part we have to live out. And as I said, the first moment I did that, the first days, it was the loneliest I could have ever imagined. I didn't think that I was ever gonna feel better because my mind has taught me that this is the thing you have to keep hidden the most. And once you start living this out, everybody will abandon you. Everybody will say, oh, like that's not a person I want to hang out with, or she's completely selfish, she just thinks about herself. All the stories that I've been telling myself. And on top of everything, you will see that the people around you will probably react in this kind of fashion because you have chosen the people in your life who mirror back to you what you believe. And if you believe it's right to hide that part of you, it's right to keep that hidden and that it's wrong to live that out, you're gonna surround yourself with people who also believe the same thing. So of course, once you start living this out, you will see turmoil in your life. You'll see how all those dynamics change. You will see how a lot of people just walk away from you. But you'll also see how you will stop having so many of the relationships you felt like you had to have, that this was like the little bit of connection you could have. Because now you're giving that to yourself. You don't need that from that person anymore. And so this relationship just doesn't matter anymore to you because you're giving that to yourself. I always like using the metaphor of turning a glove around. All the time, you've been creating relationships through a vacuum in your life. You've depleted yourself and then tried to connect to others. And of course, it will feel empty because there's nothing authentic you can connect with. Your authenticity you hide because you're so afraid of the judgment. And I know how it feels. I know how scary it is. But I can guarantee you, you're strong enough to take it. It's not gonna kill you if you start living that out. And you can start small. You don't have to go 0 to 100 in like one day. For me, it started with simple things like just posting songs on Facebook. See, this was back, I think, 2014. So, another time. But back then, like even that seemed so scary because then I thought, okay, so everybody around me is gonna know that this is the kind of music I listen to. These are the kinds of thoughts I had because I saw them represented in the lyrics lyrics. I saw them represented in the mood. I was so afraid of people seeing my anger. But once I did, I understood, okay, I still exist. Like nothing really happened. I'm still here. And now when I connect with people, I hide one part less of me. And having that and saying I'm standing and I'm choosing me. And everybody who wants to connect with me has to accept that part of me. And if they don't, then I'm willing to stand alone. And that is the scariest part, to understand that this will only happen if you're willing to stand alone. See, there's this concept of dependency, independence, and then interdependence. This is actually the right concept to explain how to get from feeling lonely to feeling connected. When we're here, we're dependent. We only make connections based on codependency. We make connections because we feel, oh, that other person needs me, I need them, and I'm hiding parts of me, but that's okay. And if I share that, it's because that person needs me so much that I can dare to do that. But it always comes from a place of dependency. And in order to get to interdependence, you have to go through the independent part. And that independent part is you standing up by yourself, for yourself, even if you have to stand alone. And a lot of people say, but I'm standing alone. I'm really here and I don't get anywhere. Like I really hide from the world because nobody understands me. And so I'm supposed to stay in that state. I'm here to tell you, when you're in that position, you're not at that independent state. You're still at the dependent state because you always still feel I can only have connections if I show up as somebody else. And since I don't want that, I rather self-isolate. I know how you feel. I've been there. But when it comes to independence, it's about standing up and being willing for people to reject you. Not going towards that though, not being there and saying, I'm gonna be here and I'm just waiting for people to dismiss me. I'm just waiting for people to not like me. But to actually connect with people who are looking for exactly that. For people who want to see that authentic self of yours and to be open to that. Because up until this point, you have not accepted those people. You didn't want those people because those people actually believe that you're a good person. Those people actually like the way you are. But if you don't like yourself, you're not gonna like them either. And you're not gonna like them for liking you. So start liking people who really like you when you show up as your most authentic self. Lean into that. And there's so many ways you can do this. You can show up in organizations within your city, online. There's so many people fighting for a better world, fighting for connection and authenticity. And you can be part of that. And there are so many people who accept you for all the quirks that you have. And they don't just tolerate it, they appreciate it. They love it. But they can only love it if you start loving yourself and you start showing up as somebody who's proud of being yourself. And you'll see once you start this process, you'll be okay with standing on your own. This independent part of you, that is something that nobody can touch. That is the part of you, the deepest core that you will never allow anybody to come into. That is the part that you only give to yourself. So when we use the metaphor of creating that vacuum in the beginning and then connecting with people through that, and we always feel like there's no real connection, what we're gonna do now is actually fill 30% of that vacuum, let's say, with our own energy. And that energy cannot be taken away. That energy is not allowed for anybody to judge. So there are things about me that I believe so deeply about me that if anybody came into my world and didn't believe that, they wouldn't even be able to have a conversation with me. That is something that is so engraved in me. So I, for example, never had any physical abuse, neither in my family, not in people I've seen. Like, it's just not part of my life. It never has been. So it has never been a story I've ever told myself. So there's no way somebody like that could come into my life. And I'm not saying that out of some kind of superiority, because trust me, I've had some other mental abuse situations where I allowed people to treat me horribly. So I'm not even comparing that. I'm just saying I didn't have that story. And so since I never had that story, I don't allow this in my life. I don't even think about it. It just doesn't happen. I don't have any kind of like violence like this in my life. But if for some reason reason I was born into a situation like this, if for some reason I've witnessed that, then I will not know that this is a story I'm not supposed to tell myself. And so, of course, I allow this kind of energy to get into that deepest part of me because this is what I know. This is what I'm used to. But when you create this part of you that is not shakable, you create something that you chose, something that is so important and is so you that you will never neglect it for anybody. You are choosing your authentic self. And you can adapt that with time, but you have to make a decision. You have to say, this is the way I show up. I show up as somebody who fights for me, who believes that I'm a good person, who trusts that I'll do my best to contribute to whatever I create in life. And once you do that, you're gonna be so much better at accepting yourself. You're gonna feel so much better as showing up as your true self. And then you automatically are gonna be able to then create interdependence, which is above those, let's say 30% of your whole energy. When you go above that, you're able to make compromises. You're able to show up for others. You're able to actually connect with others by understanding where they're coming from, but never at the expense of that 30% that will always be that independent part of yours that you will never adapt for anybody but yourself. So what can you do now? So you understand the concept now, you're in this position. How do you actually show up? Do something that scares you. Show up in any kind of capacity. It can really be small. It's about those small steps that you continuously do, where you show up more in a way which scares you, which is so authentically you that you're scared to be judged for because it's so deeply engraved in who you are. And if somebody dislikes that, then it just mirrors back to you that you're really not likable. But if you make it step by step and you know, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna show up like this, and everybody who doesn't accept me for it, they don't deserve my acceptance. This is something that is part of me, and I'm part of creation, I'm part of this world, and I deserve to be respected for who I am. And this is how you show up. And once you choose yourself, once you're in this position and you say, this is who I am, I'm not gonna budge for anybody, you'll see how the right people will see you. The people who will want to be inspired by you. And they probably won't be the people that you were hoping for all the time so far. It will be new people, it will be new dynamics, and you really start living in a way you couldn't even imagine. We're made for connection, but it can only happen if you dare to show who you really are, and you know that this is not up for debate if other people like you or not. Remember, what other people think of you is none of your business. I really hope that helped you. If you want to know more about creating an epic life on your terms, remember to check out the webinar, the masterclass, or just download the free poster. And if you want to work with me privately and tackle the things that are going on in your life and create an epic life on your terms, then also check out all my information on one-on-one coaching. Guys, if you want to watch another video now, then watch my video on the 4 times I should have listened to my gut instinct earlier, because believing that I'm not alone was actually a gut instinct that I listened to. Like always, guys, I wish you a wonderful day, a great week, and I talk to you next time.